So here I am, it's Tuesday night. Got the Tuesday night selling coaching community call. I'm all fired up, ready to go, and I've got my recording on, I've got my headset on, eagerly waiting for, someone to call in to the Tuesday night call. And it's, 8:58, 8:59, 9 o'clock, 9:01, 9:02, and it keeps going by, and I'm sitting there going, maybe no one's gonna call in tonight. And then at about 9:07, I get to this spot where I'm like, what should I do? I don't think anyone's calling in tonight. Should I just hang up and go downstairs and relax and, watch TV? I'm watching a new show called Masters of Sex on Showtime. I don't know if anyone's watching that, but it's really good. I just got started on it, like 3 episodes in. Anyways, obviously I want to go watch that, right? I want to relax. But then I'm like, no, you know what? One of the things I teach entrepreneurs that when I work with you is and you've heard me say this before, those of you that have been following me, is that, when you show up at the event, whether it's an event like this, live on a call or live in person, the reality of our business is that even when you get going, and even when you've got a lot of people in your tribe, in your database, sometimes no one shows up. I've been to events and I've shown up and no one was there, or 1 or 2 people were there. It's like, what do you do? And what I always tell people is the show goes on, so but obviously it's tempting to not do it. And it's like, oh, well, it's easy to get into that, poor me syndrome of like, oh, wow, you know what? No one likes me, or no one's calling in, or no one's showing up to the event. But the reality is that when you stay in the moment and you still move forward no matter what, great things can come of it. I got to the place where, it was like, whatever, 9:08, 9:10, and no one had called in yet. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to do this anyways. I'm just going to, start delivering my content, and I'm going to record it. And I'm going to put the call out tomorrow. And I know, a lot of people are going to be listening to the recordings because they can't necessarily make this time at night. And all of a sudden I hear a ding, someone called in. I'm like, hey, who's there? And it turned out it was one of my coaching clients. His name is Stephen Hamilton, and I've been coaching with him. I got to look at my book again, but it's been a good 6+ months that we've been working together. I said, hey, you know what? No one's called in yet, so it's just you and I. So instead of me just delivering this content, I'm like, let's use this opportunity to get to know you a little bit better, because I know people will be listening to this. So let's talk about like some of the work that we've done together. And I wanted you, the listener right now, to be able to hear his process as someone who wants to become a full-time coach, who's got a full-time job as a counselor. He's been doing it 20 plus years. He's in that spot where he's going to be retiring in the next 3 years. And he wants to not just retire into nothing, he wants to retire into something. And that something is coaching. And he hired me 6 months ago plus to be able to help him create a business plan and a strategy and create a framework for his business so that it's running and going and he understands it. And he's well on the way so that when he retires, it's going and it's ready for him to dive into. And so he called in, and I'm like, hey, let's use this opportunity. So the first part of the call, you're going to get a chance to kind of hear the process that he's gone through and some of his struggles that we've worked through. And I know these are things that I know I've gone through when I started off, 11 years ago. And some of the things I know, I'm sure some of you are going through right now, or maybe have gone through already, hopefully work through them, of creating your niche and finding your message. And we've done that successfully. And now he's at that place of moving on. And the rest of the, let's say, 30 minutes or so, we just used it as a live coaching session. I'm not supposed to meet with him for another, I think it's 8 days. So I said, hey, let's use this as a bonus mentor coaching call. So it was great. He kind of updated me on where he's been since we spoke last week. And so this will kind of give you an inside look at and a feel for how I work and what I do with people. This is what I do. This is live mentoring. This is live work with one of my clients. So I'm excited about it, and I know you're going to receive some really, really valuable information because you'll start to hear the direction that he was going down. And I kind of said, hey, wait a minute, while that's great and all, we've done all this work on your niche. Like, here's where you need to be. I kind of kicked his ass and said, hey, this is where you need to be. And that's what I love about what I do as a mentor coach. So enjoy the call. I'll kick it off. Oh, I wanted to know if you wanted to spend some time talking about your brand, where you're at, and kind of almost like an impromptu coaching call.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, let's do this. So first of all, just so people that are listening, so they know who you are, just give them a little background of who you are and kind of what you came to me for, how we started working together, so people get an idea of that.
Okay, well, my name is Steve Hamilton. I'm a psychologist by training. I went through IPEC training a couple of years ago, and I got into coaching because there is a whole slew of folks who don't have, quote, mental health problems and who I feel I can want to assist in a whole different way of being. The hard part for me and why I came to Jeff was trying to claim my niche and what that was. I've always been interested in sports and sports psychology, and that was, I felt I was fumbling around for my voice in how to claim my niche. And I heard Jeff on a call and liked his energy and took a step and said, hey, I heard you on a recording, and I'd like to talk to you about some of the things that you have been talking about. So we've been working together for probably about 3 months now, and he's been very helpful for me in terms of clarifying my voice, my niche, my kind of everything about who I want to be and what I want to do.
Yeah, it's been an exciting road, too. It seems like we've been working together longer than that, too, you know?
It has been.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I think we've been like almost 6 months now.
Yeah, 6 months, yes.
Yeah, and but so this will give you a good opportunity to kind of talk out loud, especially knowing that people will listen to this. Talk out loud with kind of what we've come up with so far in terms of your brand, your message, you know, who you're going to be targeting. Because that's really, really powerful because it speaks to who you are.
My interest has been in sports. I play baseball. I have a son who plays basketball. He went on to play college basketball, and I saw the struggles that not just him but all athletes go through. When you get to a certain level, it's not just the physical part of the game. When you get to, you know, the D1, D2, D3 level, Division I level, or when you get to the top bar, everybody's good. Everybody was the star of the team. But there's a piece to that. There's the mental piece to that I think I can bring, but that I had difficulty trying to put words to. And so one of the things I did was just to kind of think out loud, if you will, about the journey that I and my son went through, and that I saw his other teammates. Some went on to play school ball, some didn't. But they all had the desire to be more than who they were. So in discussions with Jeff, one of the things that I came to see and clarify was the fact that for me there were 3 aspects of it kind of crystallized over the course of time. There was the game piece itself. There was the learning piece. It's really the way I kind of think about it. It's lifelong learning. It's not just, you know, how are you going to play your round of golf, your game of tennis, your game on the court, but it's as a college person, particularly high school and college person, it was how are you going to who are you going to be in the world after you hang up your cleats or your racket? And so that learning piece came as we were discussing. And then the other piece for me was the mindset. That's something that I've been intrigued with for quite some time, because if you've got a body, everybody, I see has got a great body. Everybody's got a skill at the game. But as we've seen this weekend in the tennis match with Serena, how does number one lose to, 43 or whoever? How does a golfer have two great rounds and then put it in the tank on a Saturday and he's nothing on a Sunday? To me, it's the mindset. And so those are the struggles that I saw both in the kids that I've been around, but also for those who struggle just with aspects of living. And so coming up with the niche, we kind of first talked about kind of my story and kind of putting that down, and then in that kind of the funnel process, as I kind of think about it, is going wide and narrowing it down. And so it's for me, we came down to the triple threat athlete, which is the triple threat is play big, play smart, play in control, which talks about the mind, the body, and the game itself. And it sounds easy, but, 6 months into it, but at the time it was kind of more of a washing machine process.
Yeah. Well, it's like you have so many, you had a lot of different passions and a lot of different teachings, but it was being able to take kind of what you were the most passionate about, what you had experience with, like you mentioned with your son and playing athletics yourself, but listening to you talk and listening to you kind of like what threads were common within all your passions and your teachings, to be able to boil it down to something like what we did was it's great because now it gives you direction. TripleThreatAthlete.com. We were able to reserve the name, right?
Right.
And so it sounds like it should sound easy because we did all the work to get it to easy, right?
Right.
And I got to tell you, Stephen, listening to you talk about it now, it's so cool because you didn't stumble on anything. You were just like, you told your little story. You talked about the brand. You talked about, what it was about and why it was necessary. And it's so cool to hear the energy that you have behind it. And I know that's the piece that's going to make you wildly successful is just the fact that you're passionate about it and you're behind it. And that's really cool.
Right.
So talk about a little bit about, like, even from our last session, last week, talk about, where you are and what you're working through.
It's going to that next step. It's overcoming fears. It's those fears of, okay, so now I've nailed the name, nailed the website, etc. It's like, okay, so now what do I do? Now what's the content? And so that aspect is taking a step-by-step approach to taking a look. My style is to think big. But the difficulty, and one of the things that I had looked to you, Jeff, about was I can think big, but it's the step-by-step process that I need of what do I need to do next. Because I can go chase a lot of rabbits down all kinds of trails, but I'm not sure that they're the right trail. And that's what I'm looking for you and the guidance about. And I realize that, again, I can get stuck in, I need to read one more book. I need to read one more article. I need to read one more. It's always one more, as opposed to, okay, now you need to get out there and do something. You need to go talk to somebody. You need to be vulnerable. You need to go set up the meeting to get out there and be vulnerable. Just as a player is standing at the line, making for the serve, waiting for the pitch, making the pitch. I mean, that's where I see the very similarity between sports and performance. And the mind. That's why that's where I think the mindset is really important. And I've found for myself kind of being tripped up by that.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about the challenges that you face, like especially coming to our call we had last week. So this is important for people to hear because so many people are out there, and and maybe they haven't nailed down their message yet, or they haven't named down their website, the .com name, and all that good stuff. Talk about kind of what, like those fears and what you were getting tripped up on, like the real stuff.
Yeah, where I came to last week felt like I was just stuck in quicksand, stuck in the mud. I didn't know what I was going to talk about in the call. I felt like I was frozen in place. And yet I had a lot of information, but yet I was frozen in place. And I needed an outside voice of myself to say, one, this is a normal process. Okay, good. That's helpful. And two is to, okay, where can you move? What can you do? And one, it's also, let's look at, where you've been and where you are now and keep moving forward.
Yeah, so what did you realize as a result of our conversation?
I didn't need to make a molehill into a mountain. And that this is going to be the kind of the entrepreneurial experience, and that if I'm choosing to work with people, which I do on a day-to-day basis, but if I'm choosing also to set up my own brand, there is just by definition going to be fear involved because I'm stepping out there. And that's where I really felt the call last week was really helpful, is providing what I could not see.
Yeah.
Was that no, you're on the right path. Keep going at it. That was a big takeaway for me.
Yeah, it's funny how our brain tricks us and all those fears come up and they just feel so real and they become paralyzing. Now, give me an update of where you are, what you've been doing, and let's use this as it's a bonus coaching session for you.
Right.
Score!
What happens when you call in?
That's right. You never know, right?
Yeah. One of the things that I have kind of mentored myself with, using my mentor voice as opposed to my critic voice, that mentor voice, which is to say, trust the process, and I have a lot of information. The second piece is this Friday stepping out and actually going and talking to a couple of the tennis clubs here and not asking them, can I do, but really going and listening, because I want to do so much, and yet I have no idea where their itch is. And so this meeting on Friday is going to be with the two different tennis programs and finding out what their interests are and how they take what they do with the mindset piece. Do they have that piece? Is that something they'd be interested in? But also how they train up their players throughout their quote unquote season.
Nice. So you got out there, you went through some of your contacts, you made the calls, you set up meetings. That's huge.
Right.
That's huge.
Scary.
Well, what got you through it, though?
Again, for me, it was just a mantra to say, trust the process, and what I have to say is important, because I know it's important. I mean, I see it every day. I see it with clients every day. I see it with and how people perform every day. You just have to watch a game on Sunday. So that's kind of what I have realized since our last conversation was, one, trust the process, and two is just keep at it. And if you keep at it, things will happen. If you do nothing, nothing will happen.
Stephen, I mean, do you hear yourself right now in terms of like what you're delivering? Like, this is content. This is valuable for people that can listen to this stuff, especially even more valuable when it's athletes or the teams that you're going to be in front of and you're talking to them, especially at that age range that you were looking to work with.
Yeah, that age range, and I think that was also one of the things, the kind of clarifying messages. I think initially when we had first started talking was to go big and wide, which is all athletes doing all kinds of sports. And, well, that touches everybody and yet touches nothing. And so in the narrowing it down, was for me, and this was part of our conversation last week, was, do I stay still broadly touching all sports, or do I narrow it down to basketball? And part of that was kind of taking a look at the logo.
We had discussed last week, do you just do basketball? And I would say, yeah, if that's a passion of yours, go there because of all the reasons I gave you. Where are you at on that?
That I realize is going to be my target market, but one of the things, the reason why I want to go talk to the tennis coaches is I want to use them as kind of group to hone my message and to see how that plays out. I mean, I got 2 one-on-ones with tennis instructors. This is an opportunity for me to kind of talk with folks and see where the itch is in that particular sport. I mean, I understand the kind of the basketball world, but I want to be able to, right now, practice, if you will, honing my message on a group and kind of listening and kind of doing the work as I do the work.
So here's some advice for you. Don't not meet with them, because I think it is valuable. It's obviously you have some great contacts, and you set up some meetings. So, and a lot of what you're going to find out from them, that information, that's going to translate to a lot of different sports. I get what you're doing in that sense. Like, I want to practice in this arena. I would definitely advise you to practice with basketball contacts. If you want to get better at basketball, would you play tennis? No, you'd play basketball, right? And you might suck at playing basketball, but you just gotta just dribble again. Let's shoot some more. So you might suck, but let's get you out on that basketball court and get you unsucking, right?
Right.
So one of the things I'd say is don't think that by practicing, like, I don't want to practice or call my basketball contacts now or anything like that, and just suck or not be good at it and ruin anything. Because that could be the tendency. Like, I've had that thought before. I've worked with other people that said the same thing. Just know that, like we said, you might feel like you don't have the confidence yet, or you don't have quite exactly what you're going to be talking about. But what's going to happen is your message and your confidence is going to develop the more you do it.
Okay.
But it's going to develop by playing that sport, so to speak. If you're practicing on tennis people, it's like you're playing tennis and not basketball. And that's what I want to urge you.
That makes perfect sense.
Say that again?
I said that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I'm not discouraging you to not meet with these people this Friday and stuff like that, because you're going to learn something, and you're getting the fact that you did it and that you made the contacts, you made the call, and you got the thing to set up. Like, that's huge right there. So I don't want to discount any of that from you. Obviously, as your mentor coach, I'm here to tell you, it's like you got to play basketball.
Right.
So and that's the biggest thing I want to tell you is don't. It's funny though when you hear it, but it's true.
Yeah.
Don't wait to call up the person or the contacts out of fear that, I'm new or I'm beginning at this. Because the great part about it is that when you get going, Stephen, and your passion's out there, people are going to listen and they're going to respect it and they're going to like it. Now, this goes back to a conversation we had a while ago. They might not have a need for it right now, right? Right. So even if maybe you might say something and they're like, oh yeah, that's great, but we're not going to do anything about that right now, or we're really not that interested right now. It doesn't mean that you're bad or the message is bad or, I should have waited till I got better at this, till I honed it. No, it just might mean that they're not ready for it right now.
Right.
But the biggest thing is we got to get you on that court, so to speak, and start shooting the basketball, not having a racket and a tennis ball in your hand.
Right.
And so as a challenge for you, like even before we meet next time, because we're going to meet in like a week and a half almost, since you're deciding to go down that road, and now I'm going to hold you accountable for it, right?
Right.
Is make a list of all your basketball contacts. Now that we're specific on basketball, and this is going to make our marketing so much easier. And again, it's going to make our message so much easier because we're doing it with basketball. List all your basketball contacts, anyone, everyone associated with it, from your past, from your kids, coaches along the way, local people that you know. You can categorize it into people I know directly, people I know through, let's say, somebody else, like now your son is coaching, it's Division I where again?
And Emmitsburg.
Yeah, so obviously, contacts I would know maybe through my son, and then, contacts that you would like to know. That's what I would have you make a list for our next call.
Okay.
Because then what we can do is, and even if before then, don't wait for me, but that's where you can say, okay, so who are my first 2 contacts I'm going to call up? And so you can get in front of those people, and you're taking a great approach in the sense that is you're not selling them anything right now. Is just call up and say, learn, hey, and be honest with them. Let them know, hey, look, show your enthusiasm. I'm launching my seminar, and here's some language for you, Stephen, right?
Okay.
I'm launching my seminar and coaching company, and I'm specializing in what I call the triple threat athlete in the sport of basketball. And I'm working with athletes or basketball athletes in these 3 areas: play big, play smart, play and control.
Play and control.
Right? See, I'm learning the brand, right?
Yeah.
So play big, play smart, play and control. I was wondering if you had a little time to sit down so I can learn a little bit more about maybe your challenges with your athletes as a coach in these 3 areas. I'm doing some market research. And just that's a great, and this is recorded too, so you can always go back and listen to that if you want to use that as a script. But that's a great way to segment into that, and always just be upfront and show your enthusiasm and excitement about, hey, I'm launching my business, I'm launching my seminar and coaching company, and I'm learning my market right now. I have experience in the market, and that's where you can connect with people, and that's where you find out and know that when you do that, as a natural result of that, they're going to get to know you, you'll meet them, you'll get to know them as a person, you guys will connect, you're going to start to form a relationship, and then by not saying like, hey, are you interested, or hey, even if you said, hey, well, what are your needs, and hey, well, I've got something, are you interested? Because technically, we don't have anything yet, right?
Right.
I mean, we do. We can come up with something. You could do a seminar. We could do, you got coaching. We can tell them something. But this is a better approach because you're just saying, hey, here's who I am. Here's why I want to talk to you, and I just want to learn more about where you're at, because you have a lot of information. You want to find out what's of greatest relevance to this population. Like you said, what is your itch, so to speak?
Right.
Because you want to hone your message. And as a natural result of that, as that connection, that's when that coach or whoever you end up talking with, they're going to get to know you and you form a relationship. And that's when you can find, if they are interested, I'd be shocked if they didn't inquire more or say, hey, listen, as you, start launching some of this stuff, keep me in mind, or let's talk. I want to hear more about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great approach, and that's why, I want you to get out there with, make a list of all those contacts, and I'll even challenge you, before we talk, in whatever is 8 days, see if you can make 1 or 2 calls at least with whatever time you have to see if you can set something up with them. Because then, think about it, if you set it up for, who knows, you can make a few calls. I know your time's limited, but, usually when we meet on Wednesdays, pretend we have a coaching call tomorrow.
Right.
Block off that time when you get home. Heck, hang up the call now. I don't know if you're going to spend time with your wife or not before you go to bed, or maybe at some point tomorrow, create the list and make 2, 3, 5, 10 calls. Let me see if you get something up for even this Friday or even throughout the weekend. Think of how much further ahead you'll be.
Right.
Am I overwhelming you right now?
No, you've got my mind just hopping and bopping, thinking about those kind of categories. Who do I know? I know some folks at work that coach teams. I've got the high school folks. So, yeah, I mean, the list is being generated as we speak.
Yeah, I can tell you're okay. Good. And here's the thing: is you're a poised man, right? I mean, you speak well with people. You can relate to people. You're casual. You're relatable, and keep that poise. You know, you're respected in the community. You're respected in your church. You're respected within your profession. Go into that with all this in mind, and just remember too that even though you're launching this business, and I'm using that word specifically versus starting. You're starting your business. You're launching this. It's like I want you to think that okay, you've been doing this for years.
Right.
Now you're formalizing it into a brand and a message. That's what you're doing. So I want you to think it's not like, oh, this is just something I'm starting and I'm brand new at this stuff. It's like you've been doing this as an athlete yourself, going back to your high school and college days. Then, as you've had children, you know, you've gone through it with them as a coach within their sports, as a dad witnessing it and all those pieces as well, because part of your niche is not only working with those students but with those families or the parents as well.
Right.
You know, because it's a message to them. And so you lived it to there, and you've developed all this understanding and knowledge and contacts within those three areas of triple threat athlete. And now what you're doing is it's like, oh, geez, you know what? I've been doing counseling for how long has it been now? 20 plus years.
20 plus years. Yep.
Yeah, 20 plus years, right? So now you're saying like, yeah, I'm ready to, you know, hang up my hat in that in 3 years or so, and it's like, you know, this is my passion. This is what I'm going to be retiring into, and so I'm coming to all this. I'm launching this business. So you've been doing this, Stephen, since you've been in high school,
right?
And that's why I want to highlight that for you is when you talk to these people, I don't want you to see yourself as this new person in this arena who's starting something and. You know, even though you might have some of those fears and like, oh my God, but you know what you're talking about. You know, I've heard you tonight. I've heard you on our calls where you are launching into this, and I'm like, damn, listen to this guy. You know, I mean, I can just see you working up a sweat over there on the other end. You know,
right?
So that's all you need to sign through, and just remember some of the advice I gave you this is probably months ago. I think when you met with that trainer or whatever.
Right.
I was saying is just, you know, ask more questions than talk, because it's going to be very easy for them. When I say seduce you, you know what I mean by that. They're going to say, well, tell me about triple threat athlete. Well, tell me what you do. You know, tell them a little bit. That's why I gave you that little scripted introduction. You know, I'm launching my seminar and coaching company, Triple Threat Athlete, which is blah, 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 and deals with XYZ. I'm here to talk to you about this because I want to learn, you know, where you're at. So answer a little bit and then throw it right back to them so you can get them talking about it.
Yeah. No, that's perfect.
So let's finish this up by tell me a little bit about, as I've been going off a little bit there. So what's going on? What are you resonating with? So I get an idea where you're at.
Well, what I'm resonating with is, I mean, the first point is, who am I targeting? I'm targeting basketball players. So, and everything basketball. And yet the first path that I was seeking was that would be a rabbit trail, would be tennis. Okay, so play basketball. I mean, again, if I was telling an athlete, what do you want to play? Basketball. Why are you playing tennis then? I mean, that's kind of the thing. So that's the first piece. The second piece is then that gets me talking and thinking about, okay, so who do I know in this market? I know high school basketball coaches. I know AAU coaches because that's going to be after the formal high school basketball season. It's talking with, athletic directors and, for access into schools. It's various different avenues, churches. I mean, where are parents congregating? Where was I, X amount of years ago with my son about, trying to do the college basketball thing. That puts me back into the right path of where I need to be. And so that's the thought generation where I'm at right now.
Good. So kicking your ass a little bit right back into the path we need to get down, stay down.
Right.
And just remember, that's why we've spent so much time on your message and your niche. And part of a great niche is also it's hopefully going to keep you in that, if you will, one rabbit hole, if you will. So so now that that's why I said to him, like, hey, if you really love basketball, I'd suggest instead of all sports or even a few, let's just do basketball. Because now it's just like, if it ain't basketball, you shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
And so that keeps us there. Is this related to basketball? No, it needs to be directly about basketball. And then also the message, triple threat athlete, those three areas, play big, play smart, play and control. If the message, if the content you're starting to develop doesn't quite easily fall into one of those three categories, let's put it aside for right now and,
right.
Don't lose the thought, but that niche.
That just goes into another file. It gets captured, but it goes into a different file, but it doesn't become part of the primary file. That's another important takeaway that I've had working with you is, it's good information, but is it the information? Is it the information in your target market? If not, then capture it, but put it someplace else.
Yeah, exactly. So think about we're going to blow you up as the expert in this area with basketball. Like we want to make you like any coach in the world, but let's start with our local area, right? But, we want you to be known as like, okay, if you need mindset training, if you need skill set, if you need, the triple threat athlete basketball, you got to talk to Stephen Hamilton. He's the man. He knows his stuff. He's great with the kids. The parents love him. We've seen great results with him. You got to talk to this guy. And that's who you're going to be. And so you're very, very focused. So that's where you keep that area, and that's the value of that niche for you.
Right, and that's the value, and that's the takeaway. That again, the value of a niche and honing the message and taking the time to hone the message.
Yeah, and here's a tip I'll give you as well. Now that it's on my mind, as you start to get out there and talk to people, for instance, like this Friday with these, one-on-one with the tennis coaches, or they're going to love it. Right, when they start hearing stuff and you start, creating a connection, you're going to share some things, obviously, and people are, oh, wow, this is great, this is great. You're going to get that a lot. You're going to start getting ideas and suggestions from people. Hey, have you ever thought of this? Or do you talk about this? Couple tips for you. One.
Rabbit trails.
Rabbit trails, yep. Don't get caught up in other people's ideas. Meaning, like, oh, that's a great idea. And you walk away going, yeah, maybe I should talk about that too. Or maybe I should, broaden this a little bit because that's an important topic. I didn't think about that. Right?
Right.
Keep it right where it is. If it's really something worth talking about, let's have a conversation about it.
Right.
But otherwise, write it in that other file it, keep on your path. And another tip is don't try and be everything to everybody. That's the point of having a strong niche that we've developed, is if you hear them saying, well, what we're looking for is this. If it doesn't really fall into what you're looking to do, don't try and make promises or blend something or say, oh, yeah, I can do that too. Stay focused on what you're doing.
Right.
And then obviously when we're talking to basketball, there might be components of it, depending on what their needs are. We can see if it falls into a category of what we can work with you on. But again, once you start, oh, I can do that, and then you start going down different directions, you start to dilute your message and dilute your efforts. Whereas, like I said, we want you to be very strong in this area, so you are the man. So just a couple of tips, because I know. It's not just you. I know.
I can see that happening.
I know it because from talking to you, I've heard those things happen. but
Right.
like entrepreneurship in general, and I'm saying that so you know that it's not like a disease that you have. This is a disease that we all have as entrepreneurs. It's like,
Right.
you know, we get these ideas and they spawn other ideas and they have way too many babies, and then it's out of control. And next thing you know, I mean, man, I've blown weeks like just going down these rabbit holes myself, you know.
Right.
And that's what I'm here for, to kick you into place.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what I've appreciated. I mean, that's exactly what I've wanted and sought and got. So
awesome. Hey, listen, I'm glad you called in, and I'm glad you know, people will get to hear not only just a little bit about, you know, you and where you're going, but I'm glad we had kind of like a bonus little session in.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, because
so
who knows, in 8 days when I talk to you, you know, I know I was gonna make you check in with me tomorrow anyways.
Right.
But who knows, in 8 days you could have been like doing all this tennis stuff, and I would have had to kick your ass and say like, no, we're doing basketball. Why are you playing tennis?
Because it was the Open.
Exactly. Awesome, man. Hey, it was great to hear from you tonight.
All right, yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our call, and enjoy your time with your wife later.
All right, thanks so much.
All right, good night.